Hello, guys. I know some of you are still eating, so please feel free to eat. We're going to get started with our panel discussion. We want to keep our time commitment to the folks who are streaming in live on YouTube and Facebook to watch us. So we want to get started with our panel discussion. So let's just hop right in. So we all know why we're here. We are celebrating Founders Day. That's what we're calling it. And I like that name. So we got to actually make it a day and do it every year. We're celebrating Founders Day to celebrate Black-owned schools and school founders in for them to share their story and to highlight the great work of Black Minds Matter. Like we said earlier, we have the first and the only directory of Black-owned schools, and right now we have about a little more than 300 schools on the directory, and there's more out there. And so I hope that this conversation with these lovely ladies would spark some creativity and continue to spark the innovation bug. And maybe we have some aspiring founders here in the room today and watching on live, and their stories, their successes, and even some of the challenges that they face would serve as an opportunity for you to learn and grow and to be included in this space. So thanks so much for being here. Thanks for those who are watching online, and let's hop right in. So we'll go down the line. Introduce yourself, tell me your name, the name of your school, the grades that you serve, a little bit about yourself and why you came into this work.
Good evening. My name is Brandy Williams. I am the founder and head of school for ABBA. ABBA Healing Academy will open its doors in August of 22. We are the first school in the world to be accredited and teach candomblé, which is a mix of Catholicism and African traditional religion. Thank you. I'm so excited. It's important to me to do this work for the beautiful St. Augustine child that you saw stand up a little while ago. The school was founded because of students like him. He is a twice exceptional student who was not served in either exceptionality. I have his permission to tell this, but he attempted suicide in the 6th grade because of a lack of services. And I vowed at that point never to fail him or another student again, and never to allow a parent to have to feel that pain that I felt. And so it's important to ensure that we give our students options and choices, especially choices that ground them in the beauty of themselves. And because we're talking about Black Minds Matter, we need to also encourage students to know that Black lives matter. And that's a huge part of the social emotional learning component of our school.
Good evening, and thank you all. My name is Martha Weatherford, and I am with Weatherford Academy, founder and principal. And my school goes to 6 weeks old to 2nd grade. We do the babies. And the reason why I opened up my private school was because once my children was leaving the child care center, they had nowhere else to go but a failing school. So we decided that we was going to continue and build on that early age so they can grow and be the children that you would want them to be. And we have been open. We opened in 2011, and it has been a beautiful, beautiful thing. We are very excited. We're in West Wego area, and it's more of a rural area, and that area doesn't have private schools, doesn't have alternative, don't have a choice to go to. They only have a choice is to go to a failing school. So we are proud to be in that area, and we are proud to be Weatherford Academy.
And tell your type of school. So
we have also a private school, and we are K to 5th grade. That's not how we said we were going to start, but that's the need. So that's where we are.
We're 6 weeks to second grade.
And you're private.
And we're private, yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Arianne Craig Jolla. I am the co-founder. My husband is in the audience. Joshua is the other founder of Hype Academy. Hype stands for Helping Young People Excel. We started in 2011. I've wanted to teach since I was in the 4th grade, and went to Dillard, got my undergrad, went to UNO, got my master's, went into the classroom, and hated waking up in the morning. And it was mainly because of what I consider academic malpractice. I felt like we were setting our kids up to fail. And there was nothing I could do about it other than teach to the test. And so what I decided to do was to leave the classroom instead of leaving the profession and do it differently. And that's where Hype Academy came from. We started as a homeschool. And in 2017, we went before the Bessie board and became a non-public school approved by the state of Louisiana. And we are a 5th through 12th grade school, and we have 10 graduates so far.
So I am Vera Triplett. I run the Noble Minds Institute for Whole Child Learning. Currently, we are a K-6 school, public open enrollment school. We take students from across parish lines. So we have students, the vast majority of our students are Orleans Parish students, but we have students that come to us from East and West Jeff, St. Bernard Parish, Plaquemines Parish, pretty much all over the state. Slidell, we have people that come from as far as Slidell to attend our school. We started in 2014 as an after school and summer program and just sort of morphed into a full day, full year school. I started my career as a teacher. I grew up in the 7th Ward. I went to Valina C. Jones School. My principal was Dr. Washington. My vice principal was a woman named Gloria Humphrey Scott. If you are old enough and from the 7th Ward, you will know who that is. And so that made a huge impression on me, being in a neighborhood where, and learning from where the leaders were Black and all of my teachers were Black. It just left a powerful impression. And so like I said, I started my career as a teacher in the early 90s and went into mental health, children's mental health, which morphed into a career in children's juvenile justice reform, which led me back to education. And so I like to say that our school is sort of a conglomeration between education, mental health, and social justice. We are the only school, I think, in this region that by charter, by contract, as a part of our document, we do not suspend or expel children at any time for any reason. We do not have an in-house disciplinarian. We have a clinical director. And so when our kids have a disciplinary issue, they go and see a therapist. They don't go and see a disciplinarian. And so we have been operating as a full day, full year school since 2017. We currently have kindergarten through 6th grade. We will add 7th grade next year, 8th grade the year after that, and then we will stop because I'm not crazy.
Awesome. Well, that was a great segue. Let's bring it back down. Let's bring that, same vein down of why did you guys get into this education space? Why start a school? That's not an easy venture. There is no how to start a school for dummies. I've looked it up. There's not one. So if anyone wants to write that book, you should. So why did you do it?
Are we going to start here? Okay, so I think for me, it was a number of different things, but I think I was definitely a pro-reform person. I was a teacher in the system when the system was not doing well by kids. And so I knew we needed to do something different. I think that I was a champion for it when it initially rolled out. But then when all of the choices were the same, they looked the same, they sounded the same, all of the strategies were the same, then it was like, well, this is really not reform, this is really not choice if all of the choices look the same. I think also having spent time in the juvenile justice reform arena as well, it became clear to me really quickly that most of all of our kids who touched the criminal justice system did so for the first time through a school. And that was just wild to me to sort of comprehend. And so, for me, having lost a child myself to violence here in the city in 2010, now having grandchildren, my oldest grandson, as we were talking about earlier, attends my school. I have a number of children at my school, most of them African-American boys, who would not still be in school if it weren't for our school. And so I think that for me, that is my why, because I know that those kids have a future and that it is bright, but at other places, they were being told that they didn't. And so, you know, people live up to expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that my mom was a para for 23 years. She was a teacher's aide for 23 years. And I'm number 8 of 8. And I watched my mom work with moderately disabled young people. She would catch the bus from Carver to Gentilly, to the Gentilly Woods Mall, teach them how to shop, teach them how to go to the grocery store. And she would come home and she would fuss about how they were treating her, but she could not stop talking about them. And that stuck with me. And went to 4th grade. I was at Helen S. Edwards. Went to 4th grade, and Mrs. Weber, on the first day of school, put her phone number on the board. Now, she knew we were going to play on her phone. She did it anyway. And she said, "My name is Mrs. Flora Weber, and if you ever need me, call me." And that was the day I decided I wanted every kid I came into contact with to feel the way she made me feel that day. The third reason for me has with St. Mary's Academy. 25 years ago, I finished from St. Mary's Academy. And that was the school that helped me to build on what my mom started, what Mrs. Weber started. And if not for those 3 reasons, going into the Orleans Parish school system and St. Tammany, because it wasn't just Orleans that I went into, going into both of those systems, I would have just left teaching. I would have just left, but I love it. I've loved it since I was a kid. So I had to figure out a way to give what God placed in me. And so the next step for me was obviously, I mean, it may not be obvious to everybody else, but I'm like, I have to teach, but I cannot be a part of a system that is setting kids up to fail. So that's where the school came from.
My dream started early. I knew I was going to be an educator when I was 5 years old. My mom passed away when I was 5, and I always told her that I was going to teach. I came down here. I'm originally from Lafayette, Louisiana, and we moved down here 30 years ago. And I've always been an educator, and I taught home economics. So I taught children how to, childcare at the school. So I just took my career, and when Katrina came, I decided when I would move back home to New Orleans, I would open up a childcare center. And my daughter and I did. We had over 40 children, and I realized that my kids were leaving and going to a failing school. And that's when I decided, I asked my husband, who was sitting at the table back there, find me a building. Find me a building, and we will make this work. And he did. We found a building, and we opened it up. And a lot of a lot of my staff had children at the child care center, and they wanted their children to continue at Weatherford Academy. So we decided to open up the private school, and that's where the dream continued to grow.
So I'm crazy. That's how I'll start. I have absolutely lost all the sense that God gave a mule and to me, because this is probably the hardest that I have worked in my entire life, literally and figuratively, just all the ways. But in 22 years, because that's how long I've been doing this in education, I know black doesn't crack, but I really made the decision to open a school, not because I wanted to. I've run my entire career against being a principal or a head of school. Like I literally have run, you have no idea, track shoes and all. But my son and the 15 other young people that sit on my nonprofit's advisory board looked at me and said, if you don't open this school, who will? Who's going to believe in us the way that you have? Several times they've referenced the number that we bring up all the time, 20%. 20% is the number of twice exceptional or exceptional learners, special education learners, who reach proficiency in this city. 20%. I can tell you from the work that we have done, we grow kids by 2.5 years every year. They looked at me and they said, you need to do this because we need you to do this. And when we come back and have children, we need our children to have you teaching them as well. And, you know, after I told them they better not have any kids anytime soon, I went ahead and said, y'all are right. It would be a waste of my talent. It would be a waste of my life. It would be a waste of my passion. It would be a waste of my mission to not do this. So that's why I did it.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. And so much of what these beautiful women are doing, they're making history. This is history in the making today. We have a long history of Black founded schools. Julius Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington across the country started a chain of, they called them freedom schools or Rosenwald schools. And they got together and launched over 5,000 schools across the country. And these schools were independent schools and they were Black run. And the reason why they wanted to do this, so Julius Rosenwald, a white Jewish philanthropist, and Booker T. Washington, we know him, they teamed up together. They saw a need in the community. They saw that African-American kids were not being given a great education. And they said, let's create a system to empower leaders in the Black community to start schools in order to educate kids. And it's, like I said before, it's come full circle. Now with the help of scholarship programs and laws that are being passed to implement charter schools, now we're able to fund, again, education entrepreneurs. That's what I like to call you guys, to be innovative and to not come so much out of pocket to provide an education for students. And really shouldn't have to pay anything, because when we look at the numbers and we compare them to what district and zone schools get, they're still not getting anything that's comparable. So there's still a lot of work to be done in the policy arena to make sure that every kid has a choice. So now for the question, monologue, and then question. So what does it mean to you guys? Because these programs that exist in Louisiana, the voucher and the tax credit scholarship program, the charter school program, if they had not existed, do you think you would still be operable?
So I'm going to tell you emphatically, no. Without vouchers, there would be no ability for a private school of my magnitude to run. Number one, I'm Black, you know, hello, in case I wasn't necessarily obvious, but it's already hard. And I can tell you this from the nonprofit standpoint, because I've done that since 15. As a nonprofit leader, I have gone into rooms where I was asked or treated like the secretary when I am the CEO. And to get money from certain foundations, they have asked me to pull back things that are equity and driven personally for the school and for the program that I could not say I'm going to pull back from. And that meant that the money was off the table. Not to mention, in philanthropy, we as Black founders are often given a third of what our white counterparts receive. And so when you're talking about getting money, we don't have a lot of avenues to do that, even though the money is here in the city. So without the voucher programs, we would not be servicing our students. Without the voucher programs, families would not have true choice. Without the voucher programs, we wouldn't be able to employ families. My school is a community hub. We help families to get jobs. So in order to do that, we need the funds that come in the door to help us to run all of the programming that we need.
She's exactly right. Without the voucher, without the scholarship, I know for a fact that our school would not even exist. We deal with a lot of low-income families, especially in the area that we are. The school would not at all. And she's right.
I don't quit. So I know the popular answer would be, nope, we would have to shut our doors, but I didn't start to quit. So I would have found a way. But I will say that the scholarship program has tremendously impacted our enrollment. Before the scholarship program, many of our parents, our families would come and love the programming, but we couldn't retain them because they couldn't keep paying the tuition. So that's the reason that in 2017, we went before the Bessie board and got approved as a non-public school, because we needed help. We needed help for the families that needed us but could not afford us. So we do have some self-pay parents, but we do have a lot of scholarship parents as well.
So I feel like before I address this, I want to say, can I get my bread pudding to go? Because
Same.
I see that it's being brought out, and I really want it. I don't want
You
to.
know what? I feel like we're making the most sacrifice here, so we should get two
So I mean,
each. You know,
if
I
somebody
ordered
wouldn't
cobbler.
mind just putting my
Cobbler for
bread
me.
pudding in something. I know that's not what this question is about, but I really want it. I'm sorry. So I'm a public school, which is a little bit different. But as I mentioned earlier, we started as an after school and summer program. And so when we started as an after school and summer program, my husband, who at the time was not in education, he's over there in the peach jacket. I mentioned a jacket because he was excited about wearing it tonight. So I wanted to bring attention to the jacket. So we did it through a series of like volunteer and like people literally donating stuff, and then us paying for it on our own. I think education finance is a larger policy issue because it is inequitable. It's inequitable, first of all, on its face. We just don't get enough money based on the way that schools are funded. So schools are funded through tax bases. New Orleans is not a wealthy city overall. So we get very little money to educate students. Part of what I did before I opened my school is I traveled all over the country and visited schools, some of the best and a variety of iterations, to sort of see what people were doing. And I think one of the most egregious things that I found, whether it was, a school in California that was a public school, that focused on, it was a private school in Boulder, Colorado, that started much like your school, 6 weeks old up to however, whatever, that charged people like an astronomical amount of money. It was interesting to me how much Black people had to do with so little. But still were able to make things happen. So I was never surprised, for example, when I went to visit Sitwell Friends, which in Washington, D.C. is where all of the politicians' kids go, right? And very wealthy people. I wasn't surprised to see that their kids were doing as well as they were doing. But I was surprised to go to an inner city school in California, and where there was very little resources, and see that they were doing equally as well, but they were not getting the attention, and they were doing it with so much less, right? And so I think that there are a lot of battles that are being fought, reform-minded people versus non-reform-minded people, charter school people, anti-charter people, whatever. The bottom line is, who is pro-child, right? And who is pro-education? Because people tend to invest in what they care about. So we cannot continually say that we care about children and not invest in them. And I think that philanthropy can come in a number of different forms. Charter schools like mine get a lot of criticism, but I get criticized from people that have literally never stepped one day a foot in my building to see what we're doing and the work and the kids that we're working with. So, financially it's tough. And I don't think that changes until we change policy and we changed the way education finance works. But also it's tough because we're Black people in situations where we are doing things a lot differently. I think for every single person at this table, there is something about our schools that the status quo doesn't like or they don't agree with. And as a result of that, the very few people in this city who have real money to give will withhold it from us. And so we have to be empowered economically as a people so that we can empower one another.
Yeah. And that's a great segue. What hate to be social worker, but how does that make you feel that most of the people who are not supporting your existence oftentimes look like us?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, why are y'all looking at me? Well, listen, I'll say this. It's disappointing. I think it's disappointing, but and the criticism is not what disappoints. The blanket criticism is the problem. And so there are good and bad things in every profession that you can think of, right? So there are good and bad politicians, there are good and bad bankers, they're good and bad. Not at Liberty though, not at Liberty Bank. They're all top notch over there.
Wait a minute. You got three.
We need bags.
You can bag mines also.
Give that guy a raise. But I think what's disappointing is really just the lack of objectivity around what we are all doing. I'm sure I speak for everyone here when I say we work our tails off every single day. And when you are a small single site school, you are everything when you are the founder and the CEO. So I literally, you talk about a teacher putting their phone, everybody has my phone number. So like I will literally have a parent calling me. I've had 5 calls since we've been sitting here, by the way, about something that happened on the bus. And then I also have to send a pitch deck to a funder about, a pitch that I have to make in a couple of weeks. So, we are working our cans off. And so when it is hurtful. It can be hurtful to see that, especially when these people have literally not stepped a foot in my building a day to see what we're doing and how hard I and all of the people that work in my building are working every day.
I have a little bit of a different, I'm definitely agree with what Vera has said. There's a term that I've heard. It says that sometimes we think that white ice is colder.
Mm.
And we've run into that over and over and over. We as African-American founders have to jump through hoops for our families that the white schools don't have to jump through. And I'm just being honest. We're big on quality. We're not perfect because there is no perfect school, but we base all of what we do on quality and making sure our families get what they need. And I literally have one family who says, yeah, we're gonna go somewhere else next year because I want my kid to have a senior shirt. A senior shirt. So the investment has to start in the families. The investment has to start with our moms and dads who have to wake up and bring these kids to school on time and not show up. Family showed up on the first day, not a laptop, not a pen, not a sheet of paper, and said, well, if I had known. So for me, it is, and that's part of the reason I said the scholarship program, I am super grateful for the scholarship program. I would love for my parents to be the first investors, to say, I value what you bring to the table. not asking you to be perfect, but I value what you bring to the table. And I think that that is part of our issue as Black founders, is that our people do not value what we bring to the table. And they would rather bring their money and pay higher tuition and get loans to bring them to where the ice is colder. That's just my thought.
When I opened up my school and I met administrations from different areas, and when I was approached with an African-American person, I kind of got excited because, you know, I thought we had something in common. But then come to know you, get slapped in your face. So I look at things different, and I look at people as people. I have a very quality school, and we give one-on-one service. And when my parents tell me we're going to take my child out for something that doesn't make any sense, it bothers me. And it bothers me because I know I give 105%. I go over. And I don't just, when I interview my parents and I interview my teachers, I tell them, and my staff could tell you, I tell everyone, it takes a village. I cannot do this alone. And I need everyone to be part of my vision. And it hurts me a lot when I notice that my own is the one that's discriminate against me. So I kind of outgrown it and look at it different and just realize that I'm going to do what I have to do. But I'm hoping that we can look at life and realize that we all have a purpose and we all have a goal, and try to drive to that and work to that. But it's a challenge, and we're working through it.
Y'all, I took several deep breaths before I had to answer this question, because we are live. I'm sorry for anything that I may or may not say that might offend, but I'm really not sorry because I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I like you too, thank you. I'm gonna answer this from two separate angles because I think that both are equally as important. The first one, I don't believe in the oppression Olympics. Let's just be clear. We as Black people have spent years trying to understand why we were never good enough, when in fact it was nothing to do with us to begin with, because everything that was created came from us, if you know what I'm talking about. So to that degree, I know that there has been systemic, I know that there has been political, I know that there has been economic, I know that there has been things that have just been used to break our spirits, to break our souls, to break our integrity. And for so many of us, we still have this idea that white is right. I'm gonna say it the way it is, because that's what we've been taught. When the only vision that you see of yourself is in handcuffs or on television being brutalized or vandalized or etc., you don't know very much after that. And for a lot of the people that I serve, that many of us serve, they've never made it out of the city. So they don't have a basis to go from to understand that there is far more, far greater, and that we are capable. And if we leave it up to school systems, which many of us have, for right or wrong, they don't teach it. So if you don't know that you come from kings and queens, if you don't know that your blood pumps with the type of iron and ferocity that makes lives different, you don't understand that part of your life. So for people who look at me and say that they're going to take their child to a Heinz charter, by all means do it, because you are not the child or the family or the parent that I am serving. Now, on the other hand, I will say this. I think that I have been in situations, and I've run the gambit in education in the 22 years that I've been here on purpose. I've taught in parochial schools and private schools, and I mean some of the most affluent schools in this city. because I wanted to see what it was like. And I can tell you emphatically, the treatment of Black bodies, brown bodies in those schools is absolutely disgusting. It is the kind of thing that makes you want to lose your job and have a case. I promise you, I had to walk away. But that is literally because, y'all, I am authentic, and this is what you get. This is literally who I am, and I'm not gonna make any excuses for it. But it's literally because you want so much more for yourself. You want so much more for the children that look like you, and representation matters. We're up here, and some of us have said we didn't even know we were doing this work together. So if you don't know that there are people like you who are doing this, you don't know that there can be more. So I will say emphatically, it doesn't matter who doesn't like it. I don't give a shit. Excuse my French. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep working for parents. I'm going to keep working for children because that's who I am.
That's awesome. Everybody else. Well, I hate to flip the script because that was juicy. But you know, my next question was, tell me a silly story about a student at your school. So yeah, something.
I can do this because I actually have a perfect story. We have a lot of silly students at our school and a lot of silly stories. But we have a little boy at our school who is he is always himself every day, and he comes into the building knowing exactly what he wants to do and what he does not want to do on a daily basis. On this particular day, they were in class. It was just a sort of a regular situation, and the teacher called on him, and she just said, "Corey, can you answer this question?" And this is a second grade class. And Corey looked around and he said, "My hand wasn't up." And the teacher said, "Well, I know your hand wasn't up, but I feel confident that you know this, can you answer?" And he said, "Emma's hand was up. Alan's hands was up. My hands, they weren't up." And so basically he was like, listen, I didn't sign up to answer this question. Right now, I might feel like answering the question later, but I'm not going to do it right now. And I just thought that was the funniest thing in the world. But I also thought, what a testament to the power of just like agency that hopefully we are creating, where he was like, "Listen, I'm not prepared to answer the question, and I don't want to be rude about it, and I'm going to give you other options. These are some other people, but it's not going to be me." So that's one of a million silly stories that I have.
I don't have one yet, y'all. I'm thinking. Well, I have one, but it's a little vulgar. So. I'm thinking of another one.
I don't know. I don't have a story because I'm kind of like my husband told you today. We're kind of like retiring and trying to get out of it, riding our motorbikes. But today I have a set of grandkids that go to my school and they're 2 years old. And we was out in the yard and the children calls me grandma because my grandkids go to the school and they call me grandma. So my granddaughter told the children, they'll say, "Hey, grandma, that's not your grandma." And I said, "Well, what's my name?" She said, "Mama." So the little girl said, "Hey, Mama, that's not your grandma." The other day, a little girl, I was talking with my staff, and my staff said, "Are you okay? I heard you went to the doctor. You're not pregnant, huh?" So the little girl walked into the car and she said, "Miss Angie, Miss Martha's pregnant." She's too old to be pregnant. I said, "Tell her that she's right. I am too old to be pregnant." So that's my story.
Given that we're not open yet, I will give you a story from way back when I was teaching. So I love middle school. That's really my bread and butter. I love 7th graders. There's a demon that jumps in their body and eats their spirit, but I love them. My kids knew that I was that teacher that you just didn't play with. You know, like that lady is crazy kind of thing. So what happened was one of my kids, this should tell you exactly how old I am, had a child and they came to my school, right? I don't know how that happened either, but it's all right. This child was so scared to get placed in my class. I was handing out the schedules and she comes up, and this is her shaking like a leaf. She says, do I have to take you? I said, well, I mean, I guess not, but why would you not want to? My mama said you're gonna kill me. So, well, I don't kill kids. That's not really what I do. But my mama said you would, and my mama doesn't lie. I said, well, who's your mama? When the child told me the baby's name, and all my kids follow me on social media, so I'm not gonna out them like this. But when she told me the child's name, I was like, yeah, baby, go ahead and get a schedule change, because that's the funny story.
Awesome. And last question, well, second to last question, before we open it up for, if anyone wants to ask a question of the school founders, you're happy to do so. You know, kind of on that flip coin, a story of a oh, did you have one? Did you come? Did you come?
Girl. It's real short. I got a message. I got a text message from a teacher, and all it said was, "I quit."
To the point.
Just to the point. And it said, "I quit," and I said, "What's the problem today?" She said, "Why didn't you tell me that D doesn't wear underwear?"
Wait, what grade is this? You're 5th through 12th, right?
We're 5th through 12th. Okay. Why didn't you tell me that D, of course, that's the student's name, that's not his name, doesn't wear underwear? And I said, well, that's why you quit. And I thought it was a one-time thing that I told y'all it was vulgar. I thought when he sits down, you can see. Okay, don't worry about it.
No, you gotta finish, because this is this left mid story. We're on the edge of our seat.
He's a big boy, and when he sits down, don't worry about it, y'all. The time has passed. The time has passed.
A little down, and you can't tell.
Yeah.
So he probably was wearing underwear.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't.
He wasn't. He wasn't. I've experienced it before. He wasn't.
No, he wasn't. Okay.
No, that's okay.
He needs to get a lot of things. That's
Perhaps someone.
That's it, y'all. That's it.
we got a lot of things. So, a story of a student who has gone to your school, maybe currently in your school, whose life has just been transformed. You saw the night and day type of experience in their life, and maybe it could be what for you, since your school opens next year. You know, what do you aspire for your kids to take away from your school? And then for the others, kind of that.
Oh, no, I have that. Joseph, stand up for me, baby. So I always do this because it's important. In 6th grade, he had a very unfortunate situation where he attempted suicide. But this wonderful young man, who I love very dearly, graduates in a week. Thank you, Jesus. What you would never know is that he is twice exceptional. He has an education deficiency as well as gifted and talented. But my baby, because he is also my son, has worked in my program and helped us build this program since 15. He handles every piece of marketing that we do. I mean, every single piece. Website, social media, flyers, the billboard that will be up May 1st, all him, okay?
Your website looks great.
Thank you.
Your website
Thank
looks
him.
great. Great job.
I'm not going to say thank you, thank him. And he is going on a full ride, y'all, to Houston Baptist University. So that's my story. And his dad, my husband, my wonderful husband, who's sitting next to him,
He's like, stand up, Dad.
gets to get him out of our house so that we can live our lives in the best way possible. Hallelujah.
Well, you're a school founder, so you kind of just, put yourself back in the rat race.
But that's okay because I can still live my best life because my child is not in it.
They be coming back though.
You know what? He has other family members. I don't have to.
Just FYI.
He's the only grandchild. I don't have to.
The other day, my husband was in at the school, and we was getting ready for you guys to come over, and he was planting some flowers. And this is my husband back there standing up. He's the one that's got all the little ooh ah. He said, "Well, I have one of your students, and my school is very similar to yours. That we don't put our children out. We don't suspend our children. We work with our kids." And he was with one of the little boys, and the little boy was helping him plant the flowers. But the little boy just got thrown out of the classroom because he was misbehaving. So when I see my children grow, when I see my children leave, and I call them my children, when my students leave the school and get tested, it's an accomplishment for me and my staff because we have watched these children grow and succeed and accomplish and build their self-esteem and self-worth. And when you build a child's self-worth, it's just amazing what this child can accomplish. So, half of my staff is here tonight, and half of my staff children attended my school. And it's just a blessing just to see them grow and succeed.
Selena is the student. We have many stories. I have good stories like that. Selena is the student who comes to mind when I think of a major turnaround. When she was in 6th grade, she was going to a local Catholic school. And according to her mom and to her, one of the sisters told her that she was wasting her time, that she was never going to make it, that she didn't have what it took. And that led her to Hype. Her mom needed another option for her. She came in 7th grade and she struggled. She struggled with her self-confidence. She struggled with receiving help, asking for help, feeling like if I ask, then I'm gonna prove what the sister told me. I'm gonna prove that I'm not worthy and that I'm dumb. 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, she matriculated all the way through high school. And about 11th grade is when it was so hard that she wanted to give up. And she said she was gonna leave and get her GED. And we sat in my office, we talked. Her mom was having issues with her at the time. And after that conversation, I started to see a change. And sometimes we talk so much, and we don't think that they're listening. We don't think that they care what we're saying. And I sat in that office and I was trying my best to not let her give up on herself. And so it was difficult, but that was her junior year. And then she stayed, finished her senior year, and she graduated about 3 years ago. And the last time I talked to her I think it was my mom's funeral. She came to my mom's funeral, and she was working with her mom as a business manager in an office. So that's a major plus for me.
Yeah.
So like you, I have a lot of them. The ones that stick out to me are generally the Black boys, because as you know, the Black boys are probably one of the most endangered species that we have walking around on the planet right now. Two come to mind. One, 18-19 school year came to us, and he came to us because his mother was actually getting ready to be adjudicated for truancy because she had not been making him go to school. And she came to the school and sat down and she said, listen, I'm going to admit that I've been keeping him out of school, and I've been keeping him out of school because every time he does something, they call the police on him. And I am scared to death. He is autistic. And I am afraid that the one time that he does not comply, when they say do something, they're going to kill him. And so I have been keeping him home. And at the time, we really did not have space. Like, we did not have a seat in the classroom. True story. And I initially said to her, I would love to help you, but I literally don't have a physical space for him. And I went home that night, and nothing but the Lord said, you got to take this child. You have to take him. And so the next morning, and I was very upset with God, by the way, because I was like, how and where? Like, what is he going to do? Where he going to sit? But it's like, Jesus is like, that's not my problem. You figure that part out. But I called his mom. She brought him. First day he was there, day one, first day he was there, he punched the wall. He's a big kid. He was a 4th grader then. He's a 6th grader now. Put a hole in the wall. And then he immediately started crying. And he said, I know you're going to put me out. I know you're going to put me out. I said, I'm not going to put you out because you got to fix this. So you're going to fix this wall. That's number one. So we're going to check your hand. And we're going to make sure your hand is not broken. And then we're going to figure out why you thought you needed to do that. But then you're going to fix this wall. Well, last week, that kid, so he is still at the school. He, by the way, has grown, I don't know, 3 or 4 steps in his reading level. He interviewed me last week for a class project. This was a kid who, Miss Taylor is here, she's our SPED coordinator, who came in not reading, not writing. He was a 4th grader. He interviewed me last week and asked me probably some of the same questions you did tonight, wrote every single answer, and literally, as I was trying to go fast, because my toxic trait is that as soon as I submit payment, I start tracking my order. So I was tracking my order on something, and I was like, hey, Brandon, come on, I'm tracking my order. But he was like, I'm not done. There's like 2 more questions. But, you know, that he for sure is a success story. We have another one, same thing. He's a 5th grader. He came to us as a 3rd grader. Again, big boy, black. Police have been being called on him almost daily. He was on 3 or 4 different psychotropic medications when he started our school. He takes none now. None. He couldn't even be in a classroom with other people when he first started at our school. He went on a field trip today with half the school. I mean, you know, so we are literally talking about life-changing, life-saving. I know these 2 boys would be in jail. I know they would be, or they would be dead, because they're big and they're black, period, for no other reason than that. So I think, and when I think about success, I think about it in terms of like their academic prowess, yes, but I think about the fact that they are still alive when so many kids like them aren't, and they are not in jail, and they are not they don't feel hopeless, because we do have an epidemic of hopelessness amongst young black boys. You know, for some of them, it's not a question of if something's going to happen, it's when is this thing going to happen to me. And my school, by the way, is not 100% black. It is majority black, but we have white students, we have Asian students, we have Hispanic students, we have African students from Africa. And so there is diversity there. But I know for a fact that these kids, if they were not at my school, they would be dead.
Yeah. And last question, and before we, you know, we'll take maybe a few questions from the audience if you guys have some. What does education freedom and what does school choice mean to you, and why is that so important?
Education freedom is liberation. It is getting rid of the toxicity of needing to fit in when you were born to stand out. And it is being able to be free with agency, being able to have actual voice and choice in a classroom. But then for parents, it's having voice and choice with actual choices that aren't, much like Dr. Triplett said, replications of the same failure. For me, it is why I do this work. It's my hope. It's why I'm pushing my own child out of the door so I can start to educate a whole bunch of other ones. And why I will continue to do this until I close my eyes. That's what education freedom is.
Education freedom to me is a choice. And without a choice, you have no choice. For Weatherford Academy, it's a blessing that we have a choice in our area because we are in a very low income area, in a more of a rural area. And in that area, those families don't have a choice. So going into that area gave them that choice, and it helped them to grow and become the people and the children that they should be.
Education freedom for me is uncovering options for my kids, helping them to see the options, helping them to see the possibilities, not just finish high school, go to college, but if you want to go to the military, if you want to start a school, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to travel the world, if you want to, whatever that is. So that's education freedom for me, is putting the table in front of them and reassuring them that it's safe to try whatever it is that you want to try, and that there's no one correct path as it relates. The only thing is just make sure you get what you need.
I think so. The motto at our school is where the experience is as good as the learning, because we want the experience of being in school. I actually had a good time at school. Like, I learned a ton of stuff. But we used to, like at Valina C. Jones, we paid like $1. And I know that's probably going to just like say how old I am, but we would pay $1 for something called cultural resources. And we went to ballets, and they brought us to restaurants and, you know, all of that kind of stuff, which is the kind of stuff that I do with my kids. So that's the power of being a founder, is that you get to set the tone. So for Black History Month, my kids came and ate here at this restaurant, and they went and ate at Little Dizzy's, you know, because I wanted them to understand that there are Black people that own white tablecloth restaurants that you can actually go and eat in. And so, you know, that is the freedom, I think, the freedom to know, and there is joy, that there can be joy in school, right? That school is not jail, and it doesn't have to feel like one. And that you can have fun, and that you can like the adults, and that the adults can like you, but they can still hold you accountable for your behavior. And, you know, in our morning meetings every day, we say mantras. Many of them are just old rap songs that they don't know. It literally is the best thing ever, because they don't know. So I'm like, "You a paper chaser?" They're like, "I'm a paper chaser." You got the block on fire. They're like, "I got the block on fire." They don't know, because they don't know the song. I'm a survivor. Like, they don't know it. But it works for us. But I think, much like some of my esteemed colleagues have said, is that they have a choice, and that their choice doesn't have to look like everybody else's choice, right? And I think the freedom to know and understand, like, we talk a lot, like we were talking about, like how, you know, fried chicken has us in a chokehold. And I love fried chicken. And I hate that fried chicken was made into such a horrible stereotype. But then I get to teach my kids, because I know history, that the reason why fried chicken was made into such a horrible stereotype is because Black people were making a lot of money from it. And they didn't want us to be economically free, right? Same with watermelon. We make a lot of money from that. And so when you take that knowledge and you can turn the things that people try to make negative about your culture into a positive, because you know, it makes a huge difference. And so to me, that's education freedom, right? Being able to give back to people some respect for their culture.
Thank you. Any audience questions?
These people tired.
Go ahead.
Mine is a comment and a question. When I was in the second grade, I was in California, and we took a test back then. I can't even remember the name of it, and they told my mother she will not pass the second grade. So of course my mom went home and we did flashcards. Back then I didn't know I was a kinesthetic learner. I need to see it, feel it, touch it, do it. They didn't know that back then. So you know, once she did that, now, you know, I went to school, I have 2 masters, you know, because of my mother. So my question to you is, do you get that parent support? And a lot of you, you know, all of you are probably in impoverished schools and neighborhoods that may, you know, single parenting or grandparents are parenting. So do you have that parent support that could help you and help the kids with homework and come to the school and assist you guys when you need help?
Yes. The answer is yes. I mean, our parents are awesome. I think that one of the things that we need to make sure that we don't do is think of parent support in one way. Mm-hmm. And so we give our parents a lot of different ways to support us and a lot of avenues to support us. And I think that makes the difference. I think also we really do treat our parents with dignity and respect. And it's difficult because parents, like some, you know, folks talked about earlier, like they hold us to a very, very, very high standard. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it feels like all they want to do is criticize. But then I think to myself, this is their most precious commodity, mm-hmm. right? I have children of my own. I understand, you know, where it comes from. And so even though I might not sometimes like it or think it's fair, but just remember that parent support comes in a number of different ways, not just financial. But yeah, I would say we definitely do.
I'll say the same. We, our parents, like we have students that have been on our advisory building the school. Parents have also been a part of this school as well. We had parents a couple weeks ago laying floor tiles with us. So absolutely, yes.
I would say yes also. One of the things that Weatherford Academy implemented was our parents have to do at least 50 volunteer hours. So they give back to the school.
I would say overall, yes. I believe that we can do a better job of providing opportunities for our parents to support. Sometimes parents want to support, but they can't do it in the way you expect. Mm-hmm. So I believe we as a school, HYPE has to do a better job of providing various avenues where if a parent can't make it to a specific event, they can hop online and do something for us remotely or things like that. So I think we have to do a better job of providing that structure.
So I'm sitting here listening to this very distinguished panel. And the thing that came to mind for me was I got the answer to a question that I had a little bit over 15 years ago. 15 years ago, or maybe a little longer, I can't remember, I'm old now and days, you know, but I was called to serve in the Senate. And I said, God, what is this? I'm not a politician, I'm a banker, I'm a business person. Why are you calling me here? I had no clue why. Mm. And I continued to ask that question, why? A year into my service, I realized that he needed me to do something to help kids. And I was called to author and pass the voucher bill. I didn't know why then. I didn't realize until right now the very impact that decision that I made that was so counter to every other Black person in Louisiana. I was ostracized. I was talked about because there was something that God asked me to do and I was obedient. And today I understand the why, and I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you. Thank you for your obedience. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your determination, because you've opened doors that you won't be able to see beyond your lifetime. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sitting back here, and for the last 64 years, I've been a visionary. Listening to you ladies, telling your story, and it's good to tell your story while you're alive. Mhm. To the founder, I see this as a banquet, a Founders Day, but the visionary I see, this can be a conference, a convention, with the panelists being the educators, the directors, the owners. Bring along the parents to this convention. They can attend the convention and have them sitting in some rooms. The workers and workshops, putting it all together. A 3-day convention. I might not live to see it, but let's pray it happens.
To the husbands, to the wives. I don't know about you all, but I've been threatened to be fired several times. What about you?
Hello, hi. I'm a first year educator, and I wanted to know if there is any advice you can give me to better my skills and understanding.
Ooh. First year, huh?
Ooh.
A brave girl. Right. What grade level are you? Woo.
Girl.
She is toddler.
Girl, run. I said run. No,
I would just say you really have to love it. I mean, it's a tough job. I say to people all the time when I'm interviewing for positions, you really have to love it, because it can sometimes feel like a thankless job, and many times you don't know the impact until years later. I stay consistent, continue to learn, and just do good by them. Go there with the intention every day, just like do good by them, and because you sometimes are going to be maybe the only smile, the only hug, the only good thing that might happen in a day to them. And so just always remember that.
I will say this. Number one, know that your first 5 years are probably going to be the hardest years that you ever have in education. And it has nothing to do with you. Those are just the years that you are learning, growing, maturing. Things are going to constantly change. And there are a lot of people who have nothing to do with education and know nothing about what you do on a daily basis that are making the rules for you. So just hone those ideas now. Secondly, develop a why statement. It's one thing, and I definitely agree with Dr. Triplett, to love what you do and know that. But if you can tell yourself why you did this in the first place, on those days where you want to high five someone in the face with a chair, read your why statement, because that's going to help you to not high five someone in the face with a chair. I promise.
Yeah, let's not do that.
No, let's not do that.
You might want to go home tonight and develop that statement.
Right. Do it now.
So I want to just thank you guys and thank all of you for being here. Let's give our founders first a round of applause. Yes.
I want to, because I feel like I would be remiss without thanking Tiffany Crawford, who reached out to me. My fellow McMain Mustang. There's a lot of St. August, St. Mary's talk up in here, but McMain Mustangs are also in the house.
Aww. Yeah. Tiffany and Paul over here on the camera. Louisiana children. And we have all of our other AFC staff. I'm not going to call you all out, but if you want to stand, you can say, hey. No. But I want to conclude the program with awarding, inducting, bestowing, whatever word you want to put to it, our Black founders that are here tonight into our Black Minds Matter ambassadorship program. And what that means is these leaders are not only working with their head down to the ground, because that's already hard enough. But they've actually committed themselves to share their stories, to share their students' stories. I mean, I've talked to Miss Jolla for so many times now since we launched Black Minds Matter. Had a tour today of Weatherford Academy, and we will be coming by y'all's school too. But they not only committed themselves to educating students, but also to impact the entire ecosystem of education in Louisiana, but that in return impacts the entire ecosystem of education in this country. And so with all of the support that you guys give, you sharing your stories, that enables organizations like ours to go before legislatures and say, like, look at these stories. We need to change policies and expand things so that more students can have a high quality education. And so just a small thank you for all the stuff that you do. Thanks for being an ambassador in the fight. And so we'll get a picture with you guys, but Mr. Weatherford.
Oh, I'm first.
Yes.
So you give me a picture right now?
Yeah, let's get Miss Brandy Williams.
Thank you.
Miss Triplett.
I'm sorry, I got so much.
Oh, and then I'm not even.
Jolla.
Yeah, remember that. I'm gonna have to tell you again.
And Miss Arianne Jolla.
Arianne.
Well, not Ann, but. And we also have a plaque for St. Mary's Academy for Principal's sister, Jenny Jones. So if you guys want to, we're gonna come up. Yeah. Ambassador of the ambassador.
She's like, let's make that clear. And I don't want y'all to judge me.
Sister Jenny, she was here. I saw her leave a little. Yeah.
It's past her bedtime.
I saw you when you walked in.
Thank you.
So thank you guys so much for coming. I'm going to hand it over to Paul to close us out.
Thanks you for coming. This was wonderful. And is it a coincidence that our four founders are all women? Powerful Black women. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for spending a couple of hours of your weekday evening. And I will say, drive safely, Uber safely, Lyft safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I gave the mic to Paul, not expecting to talk again.
So good.
We do have some swag over here in this room if you want to take it. Hoodies, pins, and things.
She and I've spent some time together, but
Do you have a business card?
I don't have a business card because I'm just not that fancy. But